What's going on, everyone? So I'm making this video to kind of explain why I made the decisions I made for the characters that I chose for the top 10 PvP. If you have not if you have not watched that, go watch that. It's linked in the description below. It's just because this is going to spoil it. That said, let's begin. This video, hopefully doesn't take me too long to make it, but this list, the top 10 PvP has been it's the hardest list to make for me. It's both times I've made it, it's been incredibly difficult because it takes so much time to gather all the footage. Luckily, I had help this time, but even then, it took so long to just gather the footage and like edit it down, like cut the pieces out and then put it all together. It takes me so long, and not only that, the list itself, to come up with the actual list, is really difficult, especially when there's so many good characters in this, like Yoroichi, Christmas Rukia, other Yoroichi, Aizen. These are all good characters in PvP, and like I used them to film some of this, and they were killing it. They were really, really good. In fact, Rukia took out Retsu so many times. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So this is like, I ended up with the top 10. And the problem was with this list, the problem was this time around that Retsu had so much to do with the other characters. And like normally that doesn't really happen. Normally you can't build a team. There are some people that build their teams in a smart way. At least there used to be. There is still now, obviously, but in the past people would always build 3 strong characters, this will be good. There weren't a lot of people who thought it through, and there was honestly not a lot of combinations. I saw some people with a DR, with Baragan, and all these things that were actually pretty brilliant. But now with Yachiru, their combinations, like Yachiru brought back so many characters that would not have been on this list otherwise, or that would have been in different orders on this list. And Yachiru actually changed the order of a lot of these characters. Gin was going to be in here just because of his super fast attack speed and the fact that he can poison on everything. But, you know, the order for Gin, I think if it wasn't for Retsu, he would have probably been higher on the list. But, you know, she just changed everything up. But, yeah, that's why he's on here. I think he would have been just above Koga if it wasn't for that. Koga was one of the ones I feel got the least affected by Retsu, just because he can still be taken down. There's a lot of, like, by Toshiro, basically, and there's a lot of characters that can still take him down, but he can put up a fight. He's, like, really the only problem with Koga is his damage, because he does have a 160 mag strong attack 3 with Frenzy, which is very good, but most people are going to build him with a strong attack, with a damage reduction build, which means he's not going to have the boost of the links for the strong attacks. It's still going to hit hard, but after he has that, he only has the attack, and some people may chappy him, which would take out his SP altogether, which is still not a bad build for him. But the problem is, you know, he's just a really hard to kill tank. He's a tank with a low attack, I think, with low damage output, which is still good. He's top 10, but yeah, that's why he was over here. Ryukin is on a similar level, because unlike Koga, though, he can also go up to 80, but unlike Koga, he does deal a lot of damage. He has a really high attack and a plus 50 bruiser, which honestly is like having 2 links with a DR and the normal 30 bruiser plus an extra 20 in there. But he has a Soul Reaper killer, which is really useful right now. He's human, which means there's no killer against him. You don't see him a lot in PvP anymore because most people use him as a link for Retsu, understandably so. He's like the perfect link for Retsu. But he's still really good. He's like the same as Koga, except he does more damage. It's basically what it comes down to. And he has no weakness when it comes to killers. Noitora was one of the ones that was also affected. Like I said, anything with DR or anything that people would run DR with got seriously affected with this because of Retsu's ability to heal. Noitora was largely affected. He has a really high attack speed. He's moderately high attack, but he's got flurry, so you can basically double that. And then he's got the normal attack up by 20, so you know there's double that as well. But really, he was easier to kill up until everybody got the ability to heal themselves. But yeah, he's just on there for that reason. Like, I feel he would have been higher on the list if it wasn't for that healer. He would have been not higher on the list. Like, he would have been probably number 8 or so something, or 9 or something, if it wasn't for the healing. But that's really why these characters are being so affected. Also, his Captain Killer. Used to, the only killers that really mattered, obviously Captain and Espada killers mattered in PvP, but since you had a lot of Ichigos and you had like, what's another good example? You had a lot of Ichigos, you had Rukias, you had all these characters. It was really more sought after to have a Soul Reaper or a Rancor killer, something that was like a surefire. Oh, it may do, you know, it may be a 20% killer instead of a 40% killer, but at least it's guaranteed, if that makes sense. But I mean, lately, if you count these, 1, 2, 3, 4, like 6 of these characters are Captain. So the killer is now more relevant than ever. Captain Killer is now super useful. And so that's where Noitora stands. Ichigo was the one that his position was actually pretty easy, because he's the one character who was like, hey, I'm just good because I have a high SP, I have Frenzy, I have strong attack damage link, and I have really quick attack speed. It was so basic, but it works so well, if that makes sense. It's so easy to place him because what he does well. So there wasn't anything too complicated about it. It was just a good, solid character. He does have a Hollow Killer, which kind of hinders him in PvP, but, you know, everything else is solid. Toshiro also has that Hollow Killer. Toshiro's the one, man, Toshiro's probably going to be the one that you guys are going to hate over the most, because a month ago he would have been at number 1. A month ago Toshiro would have been number 1, and Blue Kenpachi, who's at number 2 to like now, would have been like at number 4 or something like that. But yeah, Toshiro's got a really high attack, SP rather. His soul trait and his hollow didn't really apply for this, because especially the soul trait, you're not gonna be alive for that long. Toshiro's not gonna be alive for long enough to use like strong attack 2 twice or whatever. The Hollow Killer doesn't really apply. Really, the only one it applies to recently is, what is it, like Aizen or something. But everything else is solid. Like, everybody knows, Toshiro was like the bane of everybody's existence in PvP, because he just froze everything. He killed everything in one shot. It was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And like, this character is still amazing. He can take out Retsu if he freezes her. It's just mind-boggling how great this character is. But unfortunately, like I said, when Retsu came out, she changed everything just by existing. For example, Sajin, who would have been placed below Toshiro on the list if it wasn't for Retsu, benefits from having a DR build, which most people run for him anyway. He gets healed and he's back in business. He has the second highest attack in the game. His attack speed's a little bit blah, you know, it's not that great, but it's flurry, so you can't really complain. It's like hitting double. It is hitting double, actually. His Espada Killer isn't as relevant as it once was, but again, like I said, it's the DR builds with Retsu. That's what's making it right now. Kenpachi, okay, this one was a little bit tricky. In fact, places 2 from this Kenny to Toshiro, the position switched so many times. I had to really give it a lot of thought. But when it came down for Kenny, it just came down as a character who can deal a massive amount of damage without being interrupted. He was basically, picture doing the amount of damage Toshiro can do, except 20% more. Okay, I think their SPs are actually pretty close together, but except 20% more because he has the soul trait of 20. And then, you know, Frenzy, and he cannot be interrupted. That's the thing. He cannot be interrupted. Except, of course, if he's frozen or stunned. But it's just so good. It's just so perfect, you know? He just can't be stopped. And that's why he made it so high on the list, is because you just can't stop him. Like, his attack speeds are decent. They're not as fast as Ichigo, or even Gin for that matter. But if another character tried to use a strong attacks, even if their SP was super high, Ichigo strong attack 3 would just interrupt it. With him, it's just like, yeah, I don't care if you try, I'm still gonna smash you. And that's why he's so high up. He just deals so much damage, and he cannot be stopped unless he's frozen. He's got an Arankar killer, which is useful, more useful than an Espada killer, because it mostly applies. But like I said, there's not a lot of them there. Yeah, now we came down to Kenny. Okay, Kenny was actually the difficult one. Kenny's a little bit older. Kenny would not have been number 2 if Retsu wasn't even a thing. Even if the other Kenpachi and the other Yachiru wouldn't have shown up, even if they would have showed up and Retsu wouldn't have, he would not have been that high. Like, if they had come out with the second round and Retsu wasn't in it, it would have probably been Toshiro at number 1, this Kenpachi at number 2, Sajin at number 3, and then Kenpachi at number 4. But since he did come out, and they make such a good team because he can just boost his own attack 33%, everybody else's attack 33%. He's got a really good defense. It's just, hey, he's playing Smite. He's just such a tank. He's back at being a tank. He can get healed. Espada killer doesn't really matter anymore. But the flurry, the poise, and the fact that he can just boost everybody, including Retsu, is just too good. It's too good to pass up. If you don't believe me, if you still think, you know, somebody else should have been number 2, go look at the top 10 leaderboards on the PvP. Most of them have Retsu and this guy, and then a third character, either Sajin, Kenpachi, or Toshiro, or Ururu. I saw a lot of Ururu. And then obviously, I'm not even gonna go through this one. I mean, it's so obvious why she's at number 1. I shouldn't even have to explain it. I already did if I explained it in the top 10 video. But yeah, I'm not even going to go through why she's number 1. Everybody already knows it. It needs no explanation. But yeah, that's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for it just because PvP is such a hot topic. Especially because you guys everybody can create their own team. You know, it'll have different characters. Those characters will have different traits. I mean, not traits, links. Will have different accessories, different secondary abilities on those accessories. The placement on the teams affect a lot too. If you put Toshiro in the middle, he has a chance to freeze everybody, whereas if you put him on the top or bottom, he doesn't. It varies so much, so it's really hard to do. And then on top of that, it's really hard to edit this video. Like, you guys have no idea. It takes me so long. I've been working on this. It's currently 10:01 p.m. I started working on this at 1 or 2. It's been a long time. But yeah, that's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. And I will see you in the next one. Take care.